Hello,
This meeting is
hello.
being recorded.
Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing?
What's up, T? What's up?
What's up? What's up?
What's good?
Cameron
What's good?
Muhammad Elias. Welcome to the call. Whose first time is on one of these calls?
Mine. I try to show up, but I have like sales calls and yeah. So
Yeah, bro. Same here, man. First time.
like sometimes I'm like
Awesome.
on triage calls like 8+ hours a day. Then I go to like the college, so I start sometimes I can't make it.
No worries, no worries. Well, because we got a few people whose first time, I'll just run down real quick. These calls, what they're about is pretty much just a free support call for anything that anyone needs to work on. So sometimes we do call reviews, sometimes it's just Q&A. It really just depends on whoever shows up and what it is they need to work on. So yeah, I just open up the floor and ask you guys, what is it we'd like to go over? Literally, we could go over anything high ticket sales. Cameron, what's up?
One of the things that I've been kind of looking into is background. And so I wasn't exactly sure what specific background should we be having when we get on these calls or we're dealing with prospects. I was looking at it, said that Blurred is kind of okay, but I wanted to kind of get some feedback on what, like, do I need to go out and invest in like a home office or like what exactly that needs to look like?
Well, it's blurred, so I don't know what your background looks like right now. If you want to be a closer, I wouldn't do the blurry background. A blank wall is okay. Decent looking living room as a background's okay, as long as it's not like your bedroom or your kitchen, you know. But yeah, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just like a blank wall is close to looking like you're in like an office would be the best if we're talking about like on the best side of things. But yeah, blank wall's fine. Blurry background sometimes it can. Some people are like, oh, what's he hiding? What's he got to hide? You don't want to do a blurry background if you're on closing calls, especially if you're selling like B2B services. But yeah,
Appreciate that, Coach.
no problem. What other questions we have? What else do we want to go over? We done already? Good call. What do we got, guys? Got an hour here. We can go over anything.
Hey man, can you hear
Yep.
me? So have you encountered any scam offers in the past?
I mean, yeah, the people that are advertising things that aren't the when you say scam offers, do you mean more specifically people that are selling scam products, or do you mean like people putting out offers that aren't real offers when you say scam? Like, I mean, yeah, there's both of those. So, yeah.
So I basically came across this offer. Yeah, it was really dodgy. They were promoting a US based service, but when I was in the meeting with them, they were from Asia. I mean Indian.
Mhm.
So it sounded a bit dodgy to me. They were asking about my credit score and stuff, and um, they were promoting something.
For like a job interview, you're saying, or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you were trying to buy something?
It was a job interview basically, but they were asking a bit really personal questions, and
Doesn't
it
sound like it
sound
was a job interview.
yeah, definitely, and it was on Facebook. I mean, I got the offer from Facebook anyway, so it was a red
Yeah,
flag. It
yeah.
was definitely a red
Were
flag.
they trying to sell you something?
Not really. They were trying to get me to close their offer, and it was basically they were running a business. Uh, it was about a hard loan, something to do with loans, and they were getting off a percentage of it. I mean, it
Hmm.
sounded a bit dodgy. It was involving credit systems, and I felt like doing some fraudulent activities. So I just
Yeah.
blocked them and left the group anyway. So
Yeah, if you don't feel right about an opportunity, then definitely don't hop on it. The main thing you want to look for is something where they're selling something that you can see they get great results, something that you can kind of get behind and believe in because your conviction is what's going to be what sells. And if someone's getting into it for the first time, even if you have experience, one thing I definitely want to look for is a team where they already have sales reps that are selling and doing well. You know.
Interesting. But they told me they had about 15 appointment setters and about three closers. And you know the Facebook profile, the way they put it to be was it looked so legitimate, but after the meeting, it was dicey. I mean, the guys they sounded like they were from India. I mean, I've got background in human behavioral approach, and I started asking them a bit personal questions just to see if they're actually legitimate, and they just failed, man. And
Mm.
I just had to. I was so disappointed because I spent so many days. I was rooting up for this opportunity, but yeah, man, it was a scammy credit stuff, and yeah, it was my first approach experience towards such dicey shit.
Yeah, anything that doesn't feel right, there's no need to go with it, you know? So,
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's pretty
Cool.
much.
Mohammed, yeah, I had a similar experience when I first started like Facebook. It's a little bit scummy. I would recommend school, but if you do go on Facebook, there's a
there's a
group
lot of them on
that
there.
nothing held board, nothing held back board. That one's really good. I haven't met a single scam on that one. They monitor that one really good. So yeah, I would recommend that Facebook group if you're really looking for roles.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm in the market I mean, to get a job offer at the moment. So I'm looking for a closer role.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 weeks now since been wanting to transition. I've got vast experience working in Facebook, and I've generated over 100K in my business. So Facebook, it's a great tool anyway. So I'm still using Facebook to this day, but when it comes to job offers, it was my first encounter and it was not good.
Careful, bro. One time I got in a call and a dude tried to sell me on the mentorship. I was like, heck no.
Yeah, there's a lot of bait and switches on Facebook as well. So you want to make sure that you know how to look at the opportunity and see if it's dodgy, see if it's a bait and switch and ask questions, make sure that you don't take the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, as long as you're not whipping out your credit card, if someone ever says like you gotta pay like for training plus a plus like guaranteed placement, I wouldn't go forward with that. Cool. What other questions do we have, guys? What do we want to go over?
Yeah, I have a quick question. What do you think about flowcharts versus like actual sales sales scripts? Because I know flowcharts are like a bit more natural, um, and they make the conversation a bit more smoother. But from what I've heard, like sales scripts are a bit too like robotic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, on the call, you really shouldn't have anything but your mental framework,
Mm-hmm.
because the calls aren't going to be a linear path. I like to say scripts are for actors, and that's, it only works if the other person on the other side has a script that fits like a puzzle piece, and that's just not the case, you know. So what you really want to get good at is following your frame and bringing the call back to where it needs to go, and keeping it in order. So what I mean by that is if I'm on a closer call, I know that the first thing I'm going to do is kick off the call, frame the call, and then jump into reason for change, which is what's the problem here.
Mm-hmm.
Get really, really clear on that. Ask whatever questions, and I keep it so loose that all I'm going in with is I just need to know problem, keeping it loose, asking questions, probing deep, getting a full understanding there. Then we're moving on to the next thing, right? So you want to keep everything to its section, but you're not going to have word for word scripts or even flow charts. Like if they say this, I'll say that. If they say this, I'll say that. It's too much, and it makes it too rigid. Like you need to just be a human being, have a conversation, and not let the call get derailed. And what I mean by derailed is if you're talking about the problem, don't let them switch the conversation to goals and desires. Save that for later and move into it when it has its time. So the most rigid thing you'll have even as a setter or as a closer is what are we discussing right now? Are we discussing the problem? Cool. We can do whatever we need to do to get very clear on that. Are we discussing goals? Cool. Let's do whatever we need to do to get clear on that. Are we discussing solutions that they've tried in their past and consequences? Cool. Whatever questions need to be asked to get clear on that, awesome. Then are we transitioning into the pitch, and then are we handling any concerns and objections? Like that's the as rigid as you want to get as a closer, and even as a setter, it's just different sections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, like a script is good for like your first couple role plays to understand what this framework is, but no, you should never be bringing one word for word into like a live call
Mm-hmm.
because it's just going to take away from your ability to be fully present with the person in front of you. The reason why you see a lot of people preaching it is because like 5 years ago, like I've been on calls where I was closing at a high rate and I was literally just had the script the corner of my eye and I was like asking the question one by one. Like I've done that and it worked back then, but nowadays people have been on because like selling anything online was a little bit newer. Coaching programs, that kind of stuff, selling them online, the whole
Mm-hmm.
structure of the Zoom call, everything like that. It wasn't as high competition. There just wasn't as many people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking to a lot of people where this is their first or like online sales call on Zoom. They've just never done it before. So in that case, that it works. But when someone has, been on multiple sales calls and you sound like every other salesperson that they've ever spoken to ever, all of a sudden they put you, they put you in a box. They say, okay, you're just a sales guy. Sales resistance goes right up, the wall goes up, and they're just waiting for you to get to the pitch so they can hear the price instead of actually having a genuine conversation with you to see if you can help and seeing you as an authority on the subject matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree, bro.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to learn within the call and a lot of things and nuances that you're going to pick up, but all working with a lot of people on is teaching them how to like be human on their calls.
Right. Listening too, that's really important for sure. I feel like
100%.
most people they ask so many questions, but they forget to listen. And listening is
100%.
probably the most important thing.
100%.
Yeah. What's up, Ty? Or how do I pronounce your name? Sorry.
Yep. It's Ty.
Ty, what's up? I have a question regarding the video, like the intro video that, well, we have in either our CVs or in the RepSelect platform itself.
Mhm.
And my question is like, any tips on how to make it stand out? Because I've seen a couple of some people, but I see that it either stands out fully because, well, it's something about that person that they carry on in their video, or it's just the same exact thing. And there are some things that I've been able to pick up on, like now because I'm building my own video. I wanted to know what's your opinion on, making a killer video that
Yeah.
through the camera people tell that you have the enthusiasm or the ambition, all this stuff. Like, what's your advice on it?
Yeah, it's actually really, really easy to stand out in the 1 minute video because most of them are so bad.
Yeah.
Every time I speak to a business owner, recruiter, and we talk about like applications, the first thing they always mention is, oh man, the 99% of the 1 minute videos I get are just garbage. Right. So if you do these few things that I'm going to list out, you will easily stand out in that 1% of 1 minute videos that people get. And first and foremost, the number one thing business owners, recruiters that are looking for is your communication skills. It's the number one thing they're looking at. Regardless of what you're saying, they're looking at how you say it, how you communicate, the confidence you communicate it with, everything. Because if I'm going to hire you to be a closer, but you can't, like, you have like nervousness, you can't confidently and smoothly sell yourself, how can you sell my product or service? Because you know more about yourself than you do about my service. You've spent the most time with yourself. So if you can't give me a 1 minute spiel where you're confidently selling the thing you know most about, how could you ever sell my thing? So that's the first thing you need to make sure that you're doing really good at is you have a confident, great communication style that you're going forward with. And being a great communicator comes down to just like I can tell you're being natural to yourself in the way you speak.
Yeah.
Right? 9 times out of 10, even 1 minute videos that are like good, like they're saying all the right things, the setup looks good, the lighting looks good, you can see them like going like this and like reading on the screen, and that is going to disqualify a lot of people. So that's the first
So
thing. Make
definitely
sure you have great
not have a
communication.
script, like.
Yeah, you can't submit a scripted 1 minute video even if everything else is perfect, because if you can't minute and my camera keeps going out, but if you can't speak for one without a script, how are you going to pitch? You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to say a pitch?
Yeah.
You can't speak to for 1 minute without a script about yourself. So you can script it out, practice it a bunch of times, but the 1 minute video that you're actually submitting and using cannot be you reading. You have to just look at the camera and just spit it, beginning to
Okay.
end. And it's only 1 minute, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, your appearance matters. Your appearance definitely matters. And there's two things that are going to catch a business owner's eye in the first beginning of the call. It's going to be your appearance. Or three things: your appearance, how you communicate, and what you say in terms of results, numbers, if you do have a track record. Most people are going to give you have to realize most people are going to give your 1 minute video the first 10 seconds, maybe 15. I've seen, I used to meet with recruiters and suggest reps for them to hire when I was, working as a sales coach for some companies. And the recruiters are like, hey, send me that guy's 1 minute video. I would send it. They would play it for 5 to 10 seconds and then say, all right, cool, next one, and make their decision right then and there. So there has to be something in the first 5 to 10 seconds that interests them enough to say, I'm going to pick this guy. And that's going to be, like I said, one, the communication skills, and two, the location in which you actually take the video. A lot of people, they just film it on their phone like this, or they film it on their couch, and they don't really or they film it in their car. They don't take much thought to it. But especially if you're a closer, if you're a setter, this doesn't matter as much. But especially if you want a closing role, you cannot leave the business owner guessing as to where you will conduct those closing calls, right? So, for example, if I'm going to be a closer and I'm going to sell, high ticket products for a business coaching offer, what does that mean? That means I'm going to be on calls with entrepreneurs. And if I'm going to be on calls with entrepreneurs, I can't be, in a garage, in a, rundown place. I have to be in an office. I have to be somewhere where it's at least presentable enough to be getting on with entrepreneurs, because you are representative of the company that you're selling for, right? So if you want to land a good role, the best thing you could do when it comes to appearance is take your 1 minute video from your setup, from your desk, wherever it is, right? They still record their 1 minute videos from wherever. But you want to take it from your setup, take it from your desk. So, see if you can have your desk or your thing in shot. If you have a mic, cool. You don't need to have one. It doesn't need to be fancy. Again, just a blank wall, but it needs to look like it's the place in which you would take calls. No vertical shots, horizontal shots as if you're taking it from the computer and, hey, this is how I would be a closer on your offer. That's how it needs to look. That alone will get you a lot of looks. If you just come on charismatic, natural, good communication skills, good setup, that alone will put you above 80-90% of 1 minute videos. Decent enough lighting where it's not you can't even see your face in the dark. Good lighting, good setup, communication skills, that is good. And the last thing you want to do to make sure that they actually, you're ahead of most 1 minute videos is it comes down to how you frame your experience. So it's obviously, if you don't have the sales experience, if you don't have the track record, difficult. But if you do have it, that's when it becomes easy, because all you really need to do is talk about the numbers at which you've generated at the very front. A lot of people, they come in, they start to talk about themselves, and then they get to the actual experience, the numbers, the track record, at the end of the call. Most people aren't getting there. So bring that to the front. For example, for you, Ivan, is this your first offer? Have you been on offers before? Tell me a little bit about your sales experience.
Yeah, I've been onto appointment setting offers, and then I've also closed for my own agency.
Okay, awesome. You said 2 appointment setting offers?
Yeah.
And then you closed for your own agency?
Yeah.
And what were your results on those appointment setting offers?
Yeah, I made £42,000 in just over a month on my first appointment setting offer. And then on the second one, I actually didn't get much results because the company was having lead flow problems. But I did accomplish the KPIs of 200 dials every single day, including weekends. Okay. And then, for my agency, I closed about 20,000 euros in profit.
Now, if I were a business owner hiring you, is that how you would explain it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so the one thing you want to work on is how you actually frame your experience. It's less about the experience that you do have, it's more about how you sell it. Just like you're selling any product or service, your first number one goal, step one, is selling yourself. And you want to make it sound as sexy as possible so business owners get interested in what you are capable of. So let's work on that. So you said you did two appointment setting offers. First one, you generated 42K pounds in the first month, you said? Okay.
Yeah.
They don't care necessarily that much about the 42K pounds. You said you generated that for the business?
Yes, for the business.
Okay, so you did 42K pounds for the business. What is that in USD? Let me see. 42
I'd have to make the conversion, but
pounds
near
to
50K.
USD. That is 54K. 54K sounds
Okay.
better than 42. So we're going to use that number.
Okay.
Unless you're speaking to like a UK offer, then you could use pounds.
All right.
Now, how did you generate that? How many calls did you was it like inbound leads and you were dialing to triage the lead? Or like how did you actually generate it?
Yeah, it was inbound leads, and I just in the dialer. Yeah, trying to do
How many
the
dials did you do per day?
200.
And how many sets did you do per day?
3 to 4.
If you had to pick one number, 3 or 4?
3.
Okay. And then what was your set to show rate?
Okay, I'm not sure. I would have to check.
They're gonna ask you this on the interviews.
Yeah.
Well, for some
Okay.
interviews at least. But yeah, if you had to guess, what would it be?
Pretty high. I would say around 80%.
Awesome. What was the close rate of those shows?
Close rate of those shows. Actually,
Like
was
set to close rate.
20%,
close. 30%. What was it?
About 30%. 20 to 30%. Yeah.
30%?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second offer, did you produce any results at all or no?
No.
Okay. And then closing for your own agency, what did that look like? Did you generate
that
revenue or what happened?
Yeah, around like 10 calls per month. Definitely not a lot. And
you obviously booked them for yourself?
Yeah, I did everything. It was my own agency.
How many calls did you set total in the whole life of your agency?
Around like 100.
How many did you close?
I closed about 12.
Okay, and then.
And we're talking about both qualified and unqualified because I was just jumping into meetings with anybody really.
Okay, fair enough. And then how long did you run the agency for?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. And then I'm assuming you became an appointment setter after you were done with the agency?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Any other sales experience?
Well, not relevant. I did do like part-time for a month as a closer for a lead gen offer, but it was a startup and they didn't have enough lead flow. I ended up making like 5 or 6 calls total.
You got 6 calls total. Okay.
Yeah,
mind if I put you on the spot?
Yeah, absolutely.
You do mind or you don't mind?
I don't. Please do. Go ahead. Any feedback,
all right.
appreciate it.
So if you had to do a 1-minute video right now, could you do it for me and show me how you would do it?
Yeah.
All right, go.
Right. Hi. So this is Ivan, and well, this video is just to talk a little bit about myself and discuss the potential synergy between us working together. So I started my agency first when I was 18 years old, and I closed all the deals by myself. Even though I had no real idea of closing, I ended up taking the courage to step in front of the meeting and in front of the computer to talk to customers, and I ended up generating 80,000 euros with my own agency. Eventually, I figured out that being an agency owner is not what I wanted to do, so I transitioned to being a full-time appointment setter. And in that time, I worked for two offers, generating $54,000 in my first month. And then with the other offer, which was a real estate mentorship offer, I had a bit of trouble because the company was having a really bad lead flow problem. But nevertheless, I did do the 200 KPI, 200 dials every single day, no matter if it was a week or within the weekend. And yeah, that gave me like the discipline and confidence that I could excel at an actual offer. And then from that, I've invested into one-on-one coaching and sales training. So I'm confident on my ability and yeah, on my skill set. So if you think that is a great opportunity for us to work together, let's discuss if we're a good fit on a 15-minute call. So yeah, I'm Ivan, and I'm sure I can add massive value to your company or to the right team.
Awesome. Is who did you invest in one-on-one training with?
Ethan E.
Ethan E, you said?
Yeah.
And then do you have any kind of like portfolio proof that you can show as well, like role play examples or
Yeah.
tracking sheet screenshots? Do you have any of that?
Yeah, have role play examples. I have like plenty, a whole bunch, and I also have a couple like actual live calls that I did for my own agency. They're not like I don't follow no framework or anything because I was dealing with my agency, but I did close, and yeah, and some tracking sheets about the KPIs being hit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The only thing I'd say is, you know, you definitely, and this is just live on the call, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. But what you want to do is display, you know, energy, confidence in what you do, and get the numbers sooner in the call and talk about them, you know, in a way that gets someone excited for you jumping on board. So, for example, the way I might do it if I were you, I would jump on and I'd be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Ivan. I'm sending you this video because I'm looking forward to working with you. Like, what position are you looking to hire for or to get? What position? Closing job role?
Yeah, close.
Yeah. So I'll jump on and say, in your agency, you said you booked 100 calls. How many of those were qualified?
Probably half of them, like 50. Yeah.
50? And you said you closed 12 deals, right?
Yeah.
It's about 24% close rate off of qualified calls. Cool. Yeah, so I might jump on and be like, hey, I'm Ivan. I'm sending this video because I'd love to work with you guys as a closer. A little bit about me. My main sales experience comes from running my own agency where I booked over 100 calls for myself, closing 24% of the qualified leads that I booked. I also have experience in appointment setting. I was doing 200 dials a day, generated over $42,000 or $54,000 in my first month on that offer. My show rate from the offer was 80% from the calls I set, and those deals closed at over 30%. That being said, I've also undergone tons of training in sales one-on-one with sales trainers like Ethan E, where I learned X, Y, and Z. What I'm looking for is to be a closer on the team. I think I'd be a great asset to the team. I've got recordings of live calls and other things you can see in the portfolio that I sent you if you want to see more of what I'm capable of. Happy to jump on a call, show you what I can do, and looking forward to working with you. Like I would say something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's fire. It's really good.
Yeah, I would go through it like that, get the numbers, you know, right up front, you know, and the numbers you care about, which is how much revenue have you generated, show rate, close rate from your sets, close rate from your closes, and then you can talk about the rest after. And I think you'd have a solid video as long as you have the other elements of you're recording it from your setup, it looks good, and you're you know, saying it with confidence and it's natural, you're not reading. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. This is very helpful. Now I see that you have like the recording on Fathom. Can I, any
Yeah,
chance I
yeah,
can
you're
get that?
gonna get the recording. Yeah, I'm gonna post it in the
Awesome.
community
That's great.
after this call's done.
Cool. Awesome. Then I'll just a quick follow up on that. I want to ask you personally, what do you think about like my experience, my numbers? Are they enough to actually get a full-time closing position?
Yeah, I mean,
How do you feel?
people have gotten full-time closing positions with 0 numbers. So it's less about like history helps. Don't get me wrong, track record definitely helps, but the things
Okay.
that are really important. I mean, one, it depends on the type of closing offer. Like full-time closing offer is like there's a lot of companies and roles that fit that. So is it enough to land on a team where guys have years of experience and they're making 30, 40, 50K a month? Maybe not. It's going to be harder. Is it enough to land a good opportunity that you can make good money on? Absolutely. It just depends on what your goals are, what kind of offers you're going for, and again, they're looking for your communication skills. They're looking for believability that you can sell. That's what this all comes down to. Does the person interviewing you believe that you perform well on the role? If the answer is yes, you'll land the role regardless of any other factors. So you want to do what you can to increase that believability. So, I mean, yeah, it doesn't like the experience part helps, but it's not, hey, is this experience equate to landing this offer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha. Very, very helpful. It gives me confidence, and I'm gonna go ahead and shoot that video the best I can.
Awesome. Go ahead. Go ahead. Karina, I know you've been here for a while. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the call. I think this is the first one you've
Hi.
been on, right?
Yeah,
Awesome.
first one.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, this is just a free support call for anyone that wants support, needs help, Q&A, call reviews, whatever it is people want to work on. So, yeah, feel free to hit me with questions if you got any.
Yes, I do actually. So I was doing the profile, I think it's called. Like I put my picture on it, I put a video that I have. But I don't have any because I don't have any experience yet. I actually came from a closer training. I invested in that, but I wasn't able to go for like I haven't landed an offer or anything yet. So I don't have, that full experience. And I never recorded any of my role play calls or anything like that. So I don't have anything to put. So obviously I'm looking to role play with people here and hopefully record that to be able to put that there. But my question is, when it says like sales experience, I think, or like the number you produce, like I don't have anything. Am I supposed to keep that as a 0 then?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have, like, you can't lie, right?
Yeah,
So if you don't
that's why I'm
have,
like,
yeah, if you don't have anything, then I guess you put what you do have. It's about just making and presenting what you do have in its best light. So don't
mhm,
go on interviews and say, hey, and don't create a 1 minute video that says, hey, although I don't have experience, I have this. Just
mhm,
present what you do have in the best light possible. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways to start to fill that up. Like you can use your communication skills and your role plays and all that stuff to land a really good offer up front. Or if you're finding it difficult after some time of doing that, there's lots of solopreneurs. There's lots of like businesses that are looking for even just like cold callers and stuff like that.
mhm.
And you can use that to start to generate some numbers to put on your track record. I know I was talking to one recruiter, Zach Brown, and one thing he said is, I immediately interview anyone with cold calling on their resume just because I know that it takes a certain type of person to be willing to do that, right? So a lot of people that are like struggling to land roles, I even tell them like, hey, do 60 to 90 days of cold calling, and your skill set and your experience is going to go up massively through that experience. And then on top of that, it's a really good thing on the resume to add.
Mhm.
But you don't have to. There's we can definitely put together something that'll allow you to land roles.
Yeah, because a lot of like the girls in the program that I was in, they've all landed offers already and they have 0 experience too. And I'm like,
Hmm.
how are they doing that? And I, and I still can't. So I don't know if it's like something that I'm saying. I mean, I haven't even been able to land like an interview or anything yet.
Hmm.
Because I've only been applying to like recruiters. And Zach Brown, he was one of them, and he was like, "Oh, well, you don't have any experience, so I can't even like let you, apply to a position or anything." So I'm just like, okay. And then when I found you on YouTube, I'm like, okay, let me see what this guy's all about. And then when you said, oh, you should record, like your role plays and everything, I'm like, okay, then maybe I should get to work on that.
Yeah, it all comes down like the reason why people won't hire with people, like, not that they won't. The reason why it's harder to land a role with someone that doesn't have as much experience is because it all comes down to, like I said before, proof that you can sell,
Mhm.
right? And you got to understand from the business owner's perspective, if it's a good offer, meaning, hey, you're a closer with inbound leads being booked in your calendar, and or you're a setter with inbound leads being booked in your calendar, it is a big risk to hire for those positions. Like, for example, for a closer, right? If you're doing marketing and you're running ads to book a call directly on a closer calendar, does anyone know on average what that costs a business to produce? Anyone
A
have any
lot.
guesses?
2,000 maybe.
Per call,
$100?
cost per call. Yeah, cost
Like,
per call is typically, some companies, there's obviously nuance, but at scale, anywhere from like $400 to $800 per call, right? So ask yourselves, if you guys had a system where you had to spend $500-$600 for each and every call, and you've got guys taking 5 calls a day, would you guys just trust someone with no experience, no track record, nothing on the resume? Like, how willing would you be to put give that person, even for them to test you out for a week? If you think about it, they give you 3 calls a day, and each call is like $500, and you take a week's worth of calls. It's like what, like 15 calls? Like, think about how the money could really pile up. And if you don't work out, that means they got to test someone else. So how, like,
Mhm.
and if they got to test 5 people before they find a closer that performs well, like, you see how it can really stack up, right? So it's all about believability. And there's a few things you could do without experience to increase the believability. One is obviously create a portfolio. So when I say create a portfolio, I mean getting very, very meticulous with clipping out, not just posting a bunch of 1 hour role plays, but clipping out each individual thing that a business owner might want to see. So, for example, here's an example of me handling a money objection. Here's an example of me handling spouse objection. Like, each objection, I would have like a 3-5 minute, however long the role play takes, a little clip of me handling that one objection. Then I would have a bunch of clips of, hey, here's how I would kick off the call normally. Here's how I'd kick off the call with a difficult prospect, especially if you're an appointment setter. Appointment setter calls leads. What happens when you call leads? Sometimes you call them and they say, oh, I don't have time to talk right now. I would have someone do that on a role play. I would handle that, situation, and then clip that out and have an example in my portfolio of me handling a difficult prospect who, didn't want to answer the call a certain way, right? Um, then I would also do examples of how I would do a discovery. Here's how I probe for pain. Here's how I do this. Here's how I do that, right? And have a bunch of different examples of how I would handle different things in the call process, um, to showcase that I can sell. So that's one thing you could do, is build a really solid, comprehensive, pretty big portfolio of a bunch of different examples. More stuff depending on the role you want to have. If you want to be a closer, then obviously you'll put a bunch of that stuff. If you want to be a setter, then there's different stuff you'll have there. Um, and then the second thing I would do is, if I'm in a program or, well, whatever it is I'm doing, I'm going to be documenting the journey on either Facebook or LinkedIn, showcasing that I'm someone who's dedicated to growth, showcasing that I'm someone who is learning every day, showcase that I'm someone who, has a bit of a follow you and like your stuff, and vice versa, you start to like their. I would start to document my process to show that I'm not just some random person, that I've been learning for a while, or I've been doing things for a while. Especially if you're on an offer, every time I make a sale, I would post about it on my social media, right? Because that's kind of like you building up a track record. If someone sees, let's say, Ivan, every time he makes a sale, he posts about it. Karina, on your first offer, every time you set a great appointment, you post about it. Every time you have an appointment that closes, you post about it. Now, when business owners go to look at your profile, they see the history there, and it's building the believability. It's building the proof. Does that make sense?
That's
These are all
fire.
things.
That's really good.
Yeah, and even if you ask David, for example, David, zero sales experience, jumped in the community, I think like 2 weeks ago, and he's landed like 3 offers just by documenting his journey publicly, right? You guys see probably posts. He's landed offers from both in the community because there are business owners that lurk inside Closer College. They're like, because they join, they ask me to post their job on RepSelect or whatever, and they see people who are active and posting about stuff they learned, posting about what they're working on, and then they reach out to them and say, "Hey, I saw you're looking for an opportunity. Let's I have one for you. Let's do an interview." And then on top of that, if you're doing that, I think he landed a job from LinkedIn. He like posted a video talking about his journey so far, and someone said, "Hey, you sound like you're someone who's charismatic. You sound like you do well. Come work with this role or come do the interview." And he ended up landing an offer that way too. So there's a lot of people that also lurk your social profiles and are looking. And for example, Karina, if you, it's like reciprocity as well. So if you and Cameron, let's say, or you and Ivan are like doing role plays and working hard, and every time you do a role play with Ivan, you post about it and you tag Ivan and you're like, "Man, just did this awesome role play with Ivan. We're working on objection handling. It was an awesome role play session. Ivan's really good at XYZ," and you're just kind of like giving him his praises. Reciprocity. If Ivan's like on an offer and they're like, "Oh, we're looking for a closer," and he's like, "You know what? Let me refer Karina," right? Just because he sees that you're showing him love, people tend to just give that stuff back, and people are going to start behind the scenes, start to make connections and invite you to stuff because they see on the timeline that you're good at what you do, that you're active, that you are someone who's dedicated to what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, sounds good.
Do you have any questions on that?
No,
Pretty straightforward. Cool.
thank you.
No problem. No problem. Joseph, I saw you DM'd me your profile. What's up, man? Did you want to take a look at it? Is that why you sent it?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
I
cool,
tried
cool.
to do another intro video, but I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that. But Loom is like weird right now. It's saying it can't connect to the internet, and so I just did a last minute 1 minute intro using Fathom. Because I just wanted to use some of the things that you recommended last time we spoke.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely once I figure out Loom what's going on there, I'll change the intro video.
You said what was wrong with the Loom link?
The Loom, when I go on Loom, it's saying it can't connect to the internet, but I'm on like other
Using
platforms.
Safari? Are you opening through Safari? You have
No, I'm
a Mac?
using Google Chrome.
Because it happened the same to me, but then I used Google Chrome and it worked. So maybe give it another try later on.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just looking at it here. Whatever link you put, it's saying can't connect. So I don't know if that's on our end or if that's you just put the wrong link. But try to get the share link and put that there when you put it so that it actually shows. But right now it's just showing can't connect. But I'll check on my end if it's on my end. But if it's on yours, just make sure you put the right link.
So what I ended up doing, I used the portfolio and put the intro video there, even though it's on Fathom, but I did put it there.
Yeah, I see it there at the bottom. Yeah, one thing I will be doing as well is if you have zero, like, because it's already hidden if you don't put anything there. But if you put like $0, for example, I'm just gonna make it like I'm gonna make this stuff not show so that it doesn't just say like zero. I'm just gonna make it hidden unless there's an amount. So don't worry about that too much right now. Looking at what you have in terms of the triage appointment setting, 1 minute video. What specific is this? The full triage call?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, having the full triage call is good, and then you also I would add some clips of different stuff as well, so that way it's not just the full one. So I would put this one here, and then I would say like triage pitch, how you pitch the next call. Then I would say like triage, handling difficult prospect. Like I would have different, kind of like what I said before, different kinds at the front. Make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then get one thing that might help as well. Got experience. You got the training there. And then you spelled my name wrong. There's an E there instead of
Sorry
A.
about that.
All good. And then one thing I would do as well is get with because I saw you doing role plays with David. Get with David and get him to endorse you as well for appointment setting. That will help because you can have him write a little review about your skill. You know, the more people you have endorsing you, the better it will look when you actually submit this. If there's like 5, 10, 15 people that are like, oh yeah, Joseph awesome, Joseph awesome, Joseph awesome. It's adding credibility to that believability factor, right? Because have a bunch of stuff saying, hey, this is what I do. It's another thing to people in your corner that are saying like, yeah, this he is who he says he is. You know what I mean?
Mind me asking, what's going on with the connection?
Yeah, my camera keeps cutting out. I'm not sure why, but you guys can still hear me, right? I'm not cutting out audio wise, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, still
like
hear
I
me?
said,
Okay, cool. Yeah. So don't mind if my face keeps disappearing and popping back up. I'll take a look at that. But yeah, my camera is acting up today. Any other questions? Have a good one, Ivan. See you later. Any other questions we got? Joseph, anyone else?
Hey T, I got one more question.
What's up?
Yeah, so I recently transferred to, well, I went up to a triager, and like when I'm reviewing the calls, I like noticed that like, I mean, I'm okay with like the frame, but I don't think I'm adding enough urgency, and that's like resulting in like them not really showing up, even though they book the call like 2 days after we do the discovery call. So like, how do I um place urgency in the last few minutes of the call without like sounding like too salesy, you know?
Urgency isn't something you place in the last few minutes of the call. It's not something that's like an afterthought that slid in right at the end. But talk to me. How do you go about creating urgency right now?
Yeah, so let me just like give you a little bit more like background. So I'm on a speaking offer, so essentially just the offer owner just helps people scale their speaking business or helps newer speakers.
Mhm.
So what we do is we give them like a training video, pre-call video, 25 minutes, and we also tell them about the complimentary call with the executive consultant, just a closer, and we just tell them that the executive consultant was taught by the offer owner himself, and it just makes them like it may just like gives them like a lot of perceived value on going on the call. And also the last thing we do is we also have like a fake like $100 cancellation fee thing that we add at the very
Oh, I
end.
hate that. I hate those. They suck.
I know.
They're so fake.
Yeah.
Like, how would you actually enforce that if I just didn't want to pay?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
if
what
I
I'm
don't,
saying.
like,
We
if I
say like,
no showed the call, like, how would you actually enforce that?
yeah, I know we can't like force you to pay.
I know some people do it, and I've heard that it works well for some. Shoot, I mean, if it works, cool, but I would never do it. Anyways, let me ask you guys, what do you guys think about building urgency on a triage call as an appointment setter? How would you guys go about it? Anyone got any thoughts for him? Yeah, Joseph?
I,
You can't
I
hear
think
me.
it starts.
I can go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Early on the call, I'm probably going to be, depending on what questions you're asking. I know for me, I'm asking questions like, what's your motivation? Why now?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll even flip it around and do like a bit of reverse psychology where it's like, you don't have to do this now. Why don't you just wait another 6 months? And sometimes their response will be like, no, I want to do this now. I don't want to wait another 6 months. So, and then I would just kind of just keep asking questions. What makes it so important now? And then I'll kind of just build off of that, off of what is their life going to be like if they don't do this? Okay, so let's say if it's a fitness offer, so let's say you stay at 500 pounds, what's going to happen in another 6 months? and I kind of walk them through that. And let's say they start saying, "Oh, right now my health is already bad." And I was like, "Oh, wow. I mean, how many times have you been to the doctor? What's your doctor been saying?" They're saying I might not have much longer to live. I was like, "Okay, then I think, don't you think it's important to take care of this now?" So things
Yeah.
like that just really make them think through what their future is going to be like if they don't do this now. I think that's helpful to me.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Good tips. Good tips. What about you, Cameron? Look, you had your hand up.
So I know it's not the exact same industry, but I know what we used to do in recruiting would be, for example, if a position was open, that position every day that it's not filled, there's an actual tangible cost to that. And so being able to help them highlight, they say, hey, again, haven't done the set of training, so this is just off of what I did for recruiting. But if someone were to say, hey, well, I think I'll book in 6 months, I'm like, okay, cool. So how much is this costing you a month? And 6 months down the road, you'll now have lost out on X amount of dollars or whatever, giving it some sort of tangible cost to it so they
Yeah.
can actually see that time actually is money. And so for every minute, day, week I delay on this, there's an actual tangible cost. And to tie that back in with something that I thought Hermosi did well was when he used that close about like, okay, how much do you make? And I think the lady said $50,000. And he's like, every year it's costing you $950,000, not knowing how to make $1 billion. And so being able to like tie tangible numbers to things, I mean, because a lot of times it can be kind of like, vague as to, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. But being able to tie some sort of really tangible, concrete example of what this is actually costing you in terms of time, money, energy, if it's a dating offer or something like that. Okay, this is, every week you're going, this is the 3 dates you're not getting, so that's what I found that was helpful back in recruiting. Again, different industries, but that's
Yeah.
what helped
I-
me.
Yeah, I can definitely apply that. Thank you, Cameron.
Awesome. And why do you think urgency is the problem? That they're not showing up. Why do you think it's urgency?
I think, yeah, the reason I believe that urgency is a problem is because, I mean, I'm doing decent on like the value proposition part. I just don't think like people like they want to actually go on the call. They don't see it as like actually valuable.
So why do you think you're doing good on the value proposition if people aren't seeing it valuable?
Well, okay, I don't think I'm doing good then. Yeah, now I don't know why I said that. Now I think of it, yeah, I'm not doing good.
Well, one thing I'll say about urgency is that the best urgency is internal, right? If you're trying to create external pressure, it's not going to work as well as if they have internal reasons on their side as to why they need to show up. And people show up for the things that they see is worth their time. So maybe like if your show up rate isn't very good, maybe some of it's urgency, but it's probably a mix between the urgency and they just don't see it as worth their time to show up. Can you walk me through how you pitch the call?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow like the rigorous script because the script is like 7 pages long, but I do more of the framework.
To set the call?
Yeah, bro. I was like, oh my goodness.
7
When I
pages.
first got on
Right.
the call with the sales manager, I was like, there's no way they're gonna not get bored of this.
Just the end though, like just like the how do you invite them to the call?
Oh yeah, okay. So usually how I do it is first right after like qualifying like how much they can actually pay. If they can't pay, we just downsell them on the community, and if they do, then we say, all right, yeah, it seems like you got a few things doing well for you. Like if they're already an existing speaker, but I can see like you have some constraints in like marketing and outreach and blah blah blah. And I think we have 2 resources that'll be very valuable to you. And then I say the 25-minute training video, and then I say the complimentary call.
Why would I show up to a complimentary call?
Yeah, and then that's when we say like I talk about the executive consultant, which is just a closer, and we just say like, yeah, these guys have been working with the coach for years now, and they understand the business from A to Z, front to back. And sometimes I see the offer owner pouring hours into them, and blah blah blah, and I think they can help you out. so I can set you up with this 60-minute consulting call. Yeah, that's it basically.
But what do they actually get out of the call, other than a vague they can help you out?
Yeah, like and then I go back to what they were struggling with. I'm gonna say like, yeah, and I can definitely see how they can help you with the constraints that you have, such as the marketing and outreach, and I also say like, give them like a GPS on your road trip. You're on the road trip to successful speaking business, and they're like the GPS to get rid of all the constraints and obstacles. So I use that analogy.
Is there a point in the call where you ask them if they want to work with someone and get help to solve the constraint?
I mean, they most of them know like they want to get like mentored, or like most of them know like it's a coach or like offer. So yeah.
Yeah, but do you straight up ask them like, hey, do you feel like you're in a place where you're actually ready to get help with this so that you can get to XYZ goal?
I mean, I feel like I figured that out like earlier in the call, like in the very beginning.
Well, it's
But
not
like
about figuring it out.
if you
It's
mean
about getting them to like
dumb
actually tell
things,
you like, yeah, I
no,
want help.
I don't think I've actually asked that.
Yeah, so I would 100% throw that question in after you figure out their goals and stuff, because if they're not telling you they need help and want help, then why are we offering them help?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Because then it looks like it's for you and not for them. Like
Yeah, true.
you want to be more like indifferent. Like you're there to help them. So I would say like, hey, let's say I'm going through the call and they're telling me about their problems, they're telling me about their goals. At some point I got to be like, cool. So, and even on the closer call, I'm like, awesome. So like, do you feel like you're in a place where you're actually ready to get help with this? Like, do you want help?
Mhm.
And if they say no, then I'm not setting the call. If they say yes, then I am.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a fault on my part because I always assume like since they're inbound, they obviously want help, but I guess you're right.
Well, they could inbound for lots of reasons, right? Maybe they were just interested in the resource that was being offered or whatever. But you need to add that question in somewhere, and then make sure that you're pitching the value of the call, right? So that they actually get excited for it. I can walk you through how I like to do like the triage pitch, but it sounds like your offer has like a specific way they want you to do it, right?
Yeah, he wants me like stick not 100% to the script, but very close to it.
Does there's other people on the team, of course, right?
It's just me and one other DM setter.
Okay, so no one else is doing calls?
No.
Okay. Is there evidence to show that the pitch that he's giving you works?
Oh yeah, it's like a proven offer. Last month he did like
Not the
50K.
offer, not the offer. I'm saying the pitch he's telling you to utilize in order to set
No,
calls.
this
Has
is new. This is
so
brand new.
no one's used that and had like a really high show rate with it?
No, because I'm like the first triager to be in the offer.
Okay. Does he acknowledge that the show rate on your sets are an issue?
Yeah, I mean we just started this up, so it's not like it's been an ongoing issue. I just
Okay.
wanted to ask just
Fair enough.
to get better.
How long have you been taking calls?
Less than 2 weeks.
And what's the show rate right now?
I have to look on the spreadsheet stats.
No idea. Okay. All right. Well, still not enough data to know if the way it's going is like bad or not. But one thing, so then I won't go into a whole pitch that I would do. But one thing I will say is have that question before you actually pitch the call, because there needs to be like everyone. This happens on closer calls all the time. People just assume, and that's why they jump into the pitch on a closer call. That's why they offer the call on a setting call. But if there's no moment of surrender where they're like, yes, I need help, it changes the whole lens of the call, right? It comes across as you're trying to like push a product on them rather than them saying, I need your help, and then you are then getting out of the way and allowing them to buy. Like people don't like to be sold, they like to buy. So a lot of the sale is you getting out of their way so that they can do that, you know?
Okay.
In setting up the call, setting up the close in a way where it's like, okay, cool. Well, in that case, if that's what you want, then this is how we can help you, kind of thing. You know, you want it to be that kind of energy rather than, oh, can I tell you about what we do? Can I tell you about our offer? Can I do this or that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Awesome. And I can definitely talk more about that if you guys want. But Joseph, you had your hand up for a while. What's up, man?
I just was going to add one more thing to his that I think would be beneficial is to help with the show up rate. Prior to setting the appointment, figure out what solutions they have tried. Figure out if they're still committed to another solution, because sometimes they may think like they have something else that could help them out with their problem. And if you don't take time during that call to figure out, hey, what things have you tried to fix this problem? And they may say, I did this, and then you kind of you got to get them to say the truth. Like if they don't admit it out loud verbally, they're not gonna have an urgency to jump on and see you guys as a solution. They're gonna still go back to whatever thing they're doing, whether it's they think researching more is gonna help them, whatever thing they've been doing, you need to figure out what that is. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. All righty. Any final questions before we hop off?
Thank you, TA. I'll definitely implement. And yeah, see ya.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else have any other questions? Are we good to go? Everyone learned something from this call? Awesome. Alrighty. Well, glad I could help. For those of you that are just
real
jumping on
quick.
these calls. Yep. What's up?
You said you're gonna be out next week.
Yeah,
Or is it-
next week. Next week.
Okay.
So not this week. I'm here for all the calls this week, but from the 23rd to the 30th, I will be gone to Mexico. Alrighty. Well, I will see you guys. For those of you that are in closer calls, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. If not, maybe I'll see you guys. Well, next week Monday I won't see you, but maybe the following Monday. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.